Hey there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittney Bundles, and today's video is going to be about inflation and entrepreneurship, applying for apartments, all of that in one. I was inspired to make this video because I have been seeing so many posts going on regarding how hard it is to now rent an apartment. And to be honest, I never thought in a million years that it would be this challenging to rent. You know, some of the qualifications that they have for renting apartments, you know, three times the rent amount. You know, your income needs to be at least 3 times the rent amount. Credit scores needing to be at least 630 or higher. You know, needing previous rental history receipts. And, you know, previous rental history receipts were always very common. Or, you know, them just making sure that you don't have any evictions are pretty common standard practices. But because I've owned a home for so long and I just got back into the renting field, seeing how things are, it kind of has me leaning towards wanting to buy. Now, I don't think I'm going to rush into buying another house this soon. I just, you know, I'll make another video about why I'm not doing that. But to keep it short and simple, the housing market is inflated right now. Purchasing a home, you know, the homes cost a lot more than they would have a few years ago. And so it's just not a buyer's market right now. And it's really not a renter's market right now either. But I'm going to go over some tips for any entrepreneurs interested in moving, you know, wondering what options they have to get into an apartment, because it can be harder being an entrepreneur, getting approved for different things, mortgages, different car loans, and also even renting. Sometimes it can definitely be more challenging. And that's one of the reasons that I stressed in a video that I made probably like 3 months ago at this point, when I was talking about the importance of being completely honest with your income on your taxes, because a lot of people, when they file taxes as an entrepreneur, they don't want to report off their income. They do have a lot of excessive write-offs. And although it helps with not having to pay so much out, you know, for taxes, or even help maybe getting some money back, it can hurt in the long run when you're looking at applying for an apartment, purchasing a home, getting a car, credit card, and things like that, because you have showed a smaller amount. I'm sorry, I keep scratching my leg. I think I got a bug bite. But you showed a smaller amount on your income, on your tax returns, than you actually make. So now you're in the position where it's like you're trying to prove to whoever you're wanting to rent from that you actually make more money, but it doesn't sustain that on paper. So I'm going to be going over some tips on how to apply for apartments in this video. If you are an entrepreneur with the inflation. If you are interested in this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Please make sure that you are subscribed, and let's get right into the video. First tip is, when moving, consider paying half the year's rent in advance if your tax returns don't prove your actual income. So looking for different places to live, just kind of exhausting different options. One thing that I've come across with a lot of different apartment complexes, and also different homeowners that are renting out their homes, one thing that a lot of them accepted was paying rent in advance. So for example, if your credit score is below like the 630, or let's say that your income shows that you make 2 times the rent amount, not actually 3, instead of getting a cosigner, or instead of waiting until your credit gets where it needs to be, because sometimes you need to move, you know, soon. You need to be able to have a place to stay. They will accept you paying half a year's rent in advance. So that is something to consider. That's another reason why it's important to really save your money, because especially with tax returns, a lot of times money speaks. If you can't prove that your tax returns, if you can't prove what you earn on your tax returns, a lot of companies are hip to it now, and they will look for your bank statements, or they would either take a lump sum payment in advance. So that's something to consider. Another tip that I have is, don't be ashamed to get a part-time job to assist with more proof of income. So let's say that you have claimed all of your income and your income still, as an entrepreneur, is not where it needs to be to get you in the apartment that you want to live in, don't be ashamed. Don't feel embarrassed if you need to get a part-time job. I've talked very extensively on this channel about working and about making sure that you do what's best for you. I wasn't able to just start my business and quit my job immediately. It took some time for me to be able to get there. And I'm not ashamed to say that. That's one of the reasons that I appreciate the position I'm in now, because of the work that it took for me to actually get in this position. I have children, so I needed to make sure that no matter what, my children were going to be able to be fed and have a roof over their head and clothes and transportation. And that all takes reliable income. And so until my business got to the point where it was pretty steady, I had enough streams where even if something wasn't steady, something else would punch in. So for example, if, my hair sales didn't match up to my goal that month, I could still get income from like my Amazon affiliates or YouTube, or some of my business services, doing consultations or professional biographies, website reviews, different things like that. So it's really important to have multiple streams and also to have a savings. But if you do need to have additional income that goes along with your tax returns, don't be ashamed to do that. So that could look something like, let's say you're needing to show an extra $2,000 a month that you're making. Keep your tax returns, but then also look for different jobs. You can even look for work at home jobs if you don't really want to get out in the world. But look for different jobs that are going to help you accumulate that additional $2,000, or different ways that you can prove that you're getting the additional $2,000, so that you can get into the apartment that you're interested in getting into. The reason that I say go to an extra job is because a lot of times when you're getting additional income, if you're not able to claim it on your tax returns, a lot of apartment complexes won't really look at it. Even if it's like, let's say it's like child support or alimony or something like that. A lot of times they want proof in like court documents. So even if you have an arrangement with your estranged spouse, or soon to be ex-spouse, or even ex-spouse, and let's say they're agreeing, just face to face that they're going to pay you $2,000 a month, so that you all don't have to go to court and, pay you alimony or to pay you child support. If it's not documented, like with a court document, a lot of times they won't accept it. Same thing when you're applying for like a home. When I was a loan officer, a lot of people will call in and say, hey, I do actually have more income than what you can see. I just don't have any way to prove it. So sometimes if you are getting those payments deposited into your bank account and you have gotten them deposited for like, let's say 6 months or a year, some apartment complexes and also different banks or lending institutions will consider that. That's why I said in the beginning of the video, some places do accept your bank statements. But if it's something that is just like new that you're getting and you don't really have a history in your bank account of receiving those deposits, you don't have any award letters from the court, a lot of times they won't accept it. So at that point, getting a part-time or, some type of job may actually help you be able to get approved for the apartment that you're looking to get into. The next step that I have is remember that everything verifiable counts. So if you're accepting cash, find a way to prove it. It's really important with your business to not overlook how much you're recording. I remember when I first started selling hair, there were some times where I would get paid. I would pull up to literally a store, and I would exchange bundles for cash, and I would go ahead, get the money and go about my day. I knew in my mind that the money was collected from my business, but I didn't record it through my online store. I didn't deposit it into the bank so that I could start having like a paper trail on the record. I just kept the cash on me. And some of the money I saved, some of the money I didn't, but I was not really too organized when it came to making sure that I counted everything that I got from my business, so that everything would be a lot more streamlined when it was time to file taxes, and that I wouldn't, overlook any cash or any deposits that I received. So I want to stress, it's very important, especially now with all the inflation, to keep record of everything that you get. So if someone gives me cash today for let's say some bundles or for service that I did, I'm going to go right to my Shopify store. By the way, if you're not using Shopify, I strongly recommend it. I'll have a link down below with a free trial. Click the link and, go ahead and choose the plan that works best for you and your business. But I record it there so that when I do file my taxes, all of my sales are lined up. And not just, it's good to keep track of the cash that you receive, not even just for that reason, but also so that you'll have like a history of who purchased from you, what day, what they purchased, in case they ask, or in case, I've had people that have come back to me and say, hey, I want the same exact lens I ordered last time. And I really would be trying to think, like, I don't remember what lens you ordered last time, but if I would have recorded it, I would have known. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's just a good business practice in general to make sure you're recording everything. Also, make sure, if you can, that you're depositing cash into your business bank account, because you want to make sure that everything is being recorded, everything is being accounted for. You want to keep your receipts. Everything just needs to have a paper trail. This is something that a lot of younger people that I have worked with in entrepreneurship don't do. And I remember my tax advisor sitting down and really talking to me about that. Now, the housing market wasn't like it is now, but she was just telling me it's a good practice in general. And there were times that I needed to get like different things, maybe different credit cards, or I guess I didn't need to, but I wanted to get different credit cards, and I wanted to have the option to do different things. And I needed to look into lending options. And I just remember being grateful and thankful that I was able to do that, because I was able to prove my income, and instead of, not being as responsible, or instead of lying and saying that I didn't make as much, I was completely honest, and it helped out. When I was in the process of selling my home, I was looking into different loan options as well, because I didn't know if I needed to, fix certain things up. But honestly, I didn't have to take out any loans, thank God, because of the housing market. Like, I was able to sell my home without really fixing anything. So but just to know that that was an option, because my debt to income was in line, credit score met the requirements, and because I was honest with the income that I was making, I had different options. So that is something that we all want, or most of us want as entrepreneurs. We want options. We want to be able to choose, not even as entrepreneurs, just as people. We want to be able to choose. I remember my aunt telling me, having money gives us options. It gives us the ability to choose. And so, it's really important, again, to keep track of every dollar you're making for your business, even if it's just, let's say you made $40 and you're like, well, I can just go and get dinner with this. I don't really have to record it. No, record it, put it in your bank account, and then use it if you have to. But you want to have a record of deposits, even if you're getting like PayPal payments. Deposit those payments into your business bank account. Like, have as much income flowing into your business bank account as you possibly can. I know it may scare some people, and you may be like, look, I don't want to pay that many taxes, but trust me, especially in this housing market, you never know, when you may want to move or when you will need to move, and you want to be able to have that option if it comes down to it. The next tip that I have is go in to apply and actually speak with a leasing agent. This is something that I used to not do. I didn't even think of. It wasn't until I met my husband that he showed me that talking to people face to face, a lot of times, it can kind of get things done a lot more efficiently than over the phone. Now, I'm someone where I love working smarter, not harder. So if I can do something over the phone or online, I'm all for it. But there are some times, especially like as an entrepreneur, where you want to go in dressed presentable, and you want to be able to make eye contact with the leasing agent and tell them about what you're doing. So YouTube is very popular now. A lot of people, when I was actually applying for my apartment, there was someone else that did YouTube as well that was applying too. So a lot of different leasing agents and apartment complexes are now hip to, people making money via YouTube, people having different online boutiques and different websites and different businesses in general. And there are some places that are more familiar with it than others. But ultimately, the apartment complexes are wanting to make sure that you're going to be able to pay every single month. It's about money at the end of the day. They want to make sure that you're not going to damage their property. They want to make sure that they can rely on you to fulfill the lease. So I'm not saying that going in is going to get you approved, but I'm saying going in and actually speaking with someone, allowing them to lay eyes on you, allowing them to hear from your mouth exactly what you do, allowing them to kind of see if they ask for any like receipts or anything like that. You can pull up your analytics on YouTube. You can pull up how much you have made this year on YouTube. You can pull up your sales and orders through Shopify. And not everyone is going to look at that, but I can tell you that I've had a lot more success with getting into apartments that I wanted to get into, or having offers from apartments that I wanted to get into when I actually went in versus when I was just over the phone. So my grandma always used to say, and she still does to this day, man judges on the outward appearance. And that is so true. People do, it's unfortunate, but they do judge based on what they see. So like, that's one of the reasons I say go in looking presentable and, talk to the leasing agent to let them know what your dilemma is and being honest. They know that the market is inflated. They know that it's difficult to get into different apartments. Let them know that you have tried, if you have, to apply to different places, and you got approved for some places, but the places that you got approved for you really don't love. You'll settle for them, but you don't love. You're wanting to move out here because of X, Y, and Z. Maybe it's a better area for your children to go to school in. Maybe there's more room. Maybe you like the ceilings, whatever the case may be. And then also let them know your past history, if it's good. I've even printed out my previous payment history with my mortgage company. So those are some things that can help as well. Going in and actually talking face to face won't work all the time, but sometimes people will, I don't want to say pull strings, but pull strings for people that they feel connected to, or people that they feel are being completely honest and genuine. The last tip that I have is go in and show, or via, the email or whatever way, fax is most convenient for you, that the leasing agent is going to accept. Be willing and able and ready to show previous mortgage payment receipts and also previous rent receipts. Like I said, at the end of the day, people want to just, the leasing agents, the apartment complexes just really want to make sure that you're going to pay what it is you signed up to pay. And they want to make sure that they're not going to have any damages or issues while you're renting there. So it's all about money, like I said before. And, showing someone that, hey, look at this. I've been an entrepreneur for 5 years. I've lived in this place for 3 years, and I have never been late on a payment. Or, I have been an entrepreneur for 5 years. My income does vary. However, I have never been late on any of my rent payments, and my rent that I was paying is around the same amount that, you all are charging, or your rent amount is lower than the amount that I was actually being charged, or whatever the case may be. But that also proves, and it kind of shows a track record of how you pay. A lot of times with different apartment complexes, they'll do like credit checks to see if you have any history of evictions, or if you owe an apartment complex any money. But if you can bring that in as an additional proof or receipt to show them, okay, in addition to me not having any evictions or me owing any apartment complexes or any housing collections, this is also what I want to show you. This is my payment history. This is my track record. A lot of places will take that into consideration as well, but they won't ask for it up front. So it's not something that places are just going to say, hey, send over a lot of the time, but it is something that they will consider if you say you have it. So those are my tips in regards to applying for different apartments during this time where the inflation is crazy high. The requirements to get into apartments are ridiculous, in my opinion. Some of the requirements are honestly stricter than if you were to apply for a house. I feel like when I got my first home, it was easier for me to get a home than it is for me to get into some apartment complexes. And like I said, there's just a lot of requirements, a lot of requirements. Like I said, rent can be for like a 2 to 3 bedroom. You can easily pay around $2,000 and up. If they're wanting your income to represent at least 3 to 3.5 or 4 times the monthly rent amount, that could be, a good chunk of change. And considering that you're an entrepreneur and that things fluctuate, some places will look at, both 2 years of tax returns. Some places would just want your most recent tax return. But I don't remember going through all of that when I was applying for my home. I went through a pre-approval process based on my income. They were able to tell me the amount that I was qualified for through them. And, it was just a simpler process. It was my first time applying for a home. And it just wasn't as tedious, in my opinion, as it is looking for apartments now. Because I have been looking at different apartments and looking at different requirements. Even if you're approved for something, You know, you have these thoughts in your mind like, wow, I'm paying this much for an apartment. Like, you know, and I knew apartments were going to be more than my mortgage amount because a lot of times it maps out that way. But still, you know, you have to kind of think like, this is just an apartment that I'm going to stay at for not even, you know, I don't plan on staying here for more than 2 years. So those are my tips. You know, I definitely hope that everyone is having a good experience and much success on their home hunting. If you are out there on the market, I definitely know it's not easy. I've taken a peek and I have seen what it has to offer, and it's not something that I'm in love with at all. But I do want to thank you all for watching. If you have any questions or any other tips or experiences, feel free to leave them down below, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.